Running commentary. We are exploring listening to albums. It is a lost art form. We took an hour out of our day. We switched off the phones, we switched off the computers, we did not answer the door. We sat down and we listened to the artist's vision and concept. Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, Architecture and Morality. Released on the 8th of November 1981 through Dindisc and Virgin Records, Architecture and Morality was OMD's third studio album. It was produced principally by Mike Howlett. Credit is also given to Richard Manwaring and OMD. It reached number 3 in the album charts in the UK and number 1 in Holland. Martha Ladley from Martha and the Muffins had suggested the title to the band based on the book Morality and Architecture by David Walkin. The album was recorded between 1980 and 1981 at the Gramophone Suite in Liverpool and the Manor Studio in Oxfordshire. The artwork was produced by Peter Saville and Brett Wickens and released in varying colours, including yellow, blue, grey and green. The accepted cover is light yellow-orange in a die-cut sleeve. Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark were formed in 1978 in Wirral, Merseyside. Andy McCluskey on vocals and bass, the only constant member. Paul Humphries as main keyboardist and second most recognisable member. The two had known each other since primary school and shared an interest and respect for craft work. And also Brian Eno. Prior to OMD, Andy and Paul had gigged regularly in the Merseyside area as part of 7-piece group, the ID. Is it the ID or the ID? I'm really not sure which of those two it is. For a year with drummer Malcolm Holmes amongst its members. We'll call them the ID, had recorded Electricity as a demo at Open Eye Studios in Liverpool. You could say that the Manoeuvres' big break came when they were asked to support Gary Newman on his first major British tour in 1979. When the band started out, they were unable to read or write music, so they developed a series of symbols to represent different instruments. Peter Saville used this notation style to be incorporated into the band's unique graphic style. This band were definitely on the cutting edge of that synth-pop wave that was to dominate the early 80s. I believe their commitment to music technology made OMD mysterious and fascinating to those early synth music fans. Orchestral Manoeuvres were devoted anoraks with sensible jumpers in the keyboard world. You can definitely say Human League were comparable in their synth gravitas at this opening of the 80s, but OMD, in the beginning at least, kept it going throughout the fizzy frivolity of Depeche Mode, Human League and Visage. Ultravox could also hold their heads high during this period as serious synth-pop pioneers. Before we get on to reviewing the songs of Architecture and Morality, let's say this. Andy McCluskey was 21 when this album was made. The subject matter generally could not have been more atypical or obscure. This was not the kind of band you could have found a substitute writer for. With these songs, the band had created an alternative universe in the UK and pan-European top tens. Pop culture with OMD did not resemble or reside in anyone you knew in the school playground. I remember the big challenge was saying the entire band name correctly. I find the legacy that this band left in the early 1980s to be uniquely fascinating and thought-provoking. So before I get on to talk about the actual songs on the album, I want to sort of freestyle on my feeling about OMD and the fact that this was a band that it was great for boys to like. This was a real Tears for Fears. There are certain bands that us guys really liked that we would sit in our bedroom with and kind of be in the headphones with, and OMD were really one of these kind of groups. I have a tremendous respect for their music, which is why I chose to review the album. I don't know that I have a strong connection with a lot of bands. They're on my lifeboard wall. I think they're an amazing group of musicians. I have a lot of time for them. I did not love what they did in the 90s, but I understand why they would want to keep their name going. And I've really been impressed with some of their newer material. So if you get a chance to check out the newer material of OMD, if you are an OMD fan like me, I suggest you get out there and really look at what else they've been doing, because that, you know, they haven't essentially changed really. I think that they, you know, their heart was in the right place when they made this material. And, you know, I just want to make it clear that when I'm reading from the notes, what I'm doing is putting down my feelings about the music. I don't want you to feel that I'm not connecting with you on the music. I am connecting with you. I'm telling you what I feel and what you may feel as you are listening to the record. So I don't want you to feel that this is all scripted and that I'm not coming across in a genuine fashion about music that I care about. When I'm reading the review, you can tell, I think, when I am reviewing the music or when I actually have more of a personal connection with it. There are certainly reviews where I'm reading from the notes because I don't want to miss a beat on the facts, because that's important to you guys, that I don't miss out on the facts. And also, we really strongly encourage you to add your stories and what it is that you feel about the music. That's the whole point of these reviews. I'm not sitting here as an android reading off a page with no emotional connection to this music. I am actually writing down what I feel. And the longer this season and this show goes on, the more responsibility I feel for doing great reviews, which is why I've actually committed to paper rather than sitting there and flippantly putting out crux of shit that piss you off, which is what I found in the first season. So I really just want to clarify that point because it's important. The New Stone Age is track 1. It almost has a rave sensibility. The synths careen precariously. It has a scariness to it that I really appreciate. Good song. In and out. There's, you know, it's OMD. I love them. She's Leaving is track 2. This song really grows on you. Andy's vocal is in earnest, very approachable subject matter by OMD standards. You know, they don't normally sing songs about ladies. It's usually about warships and battle planes and, you know, engineering the bridges and stuff that only really geeky boys would find interesting. Souvenir, together with Love Action. This marvelous pop song captured my interest in pop music, hook, line, and sinker. Paul Humphries takes the lead on one of my top 10 records of the 1980s. The sleeve to the record was a dark purple with 50s cars on the label of this prized 45. Male sensitivity, a killer synth hook that I can never get enough of. Can I tell you how proud I was of the British people for making this a number 3 smash? It made number 1 in Spain and Portugal and number 9 in Ireland. Souvenir to me will always represent how perfect British pop can be. Around the time of my smash hit stint, I had a buddy called Neil who had an older brother who had all the top 10s from the early 80s. He put this record on and I knew my life would never be the same again. The fact that I can't tell you exactly what it is about this song that makes me its hopeless devotee is the secret to this record's success. 5 bright, shiny platinum stars for this unique masterpiece. My feelings still remain. Sealand. This is eerie and effective soundscaping. The bleak greyness of a winter's day on an ocean wave is captured by stark synths. The synthesizer sound is the voice of this song. You hear Andy later sings with plenty of mood and comprehension of his musical surroundings. You can hear boats creaking on their moorings. At 5:50, there's a sound of something like an industrial hammer which pounds away before surrendering to Sealand's thought-provoking fade. This song is affecting and memorable. Now listen, if you really want to enjoy this track, there is a video out there. It's the strangest thing, but they have Sealand playing, and I guess it's this Dutch, I don't know what it is, but there is this boat on this, the boat is going like this. It's like on its side, on the wave, going up and down on this really precarious, like, and it's just the same shot over and over, but it fits with this song so really well. I didn't make a note of what the link is, but you'll very quickly There's a guy out there that has paired this beautifully with a visual. If you're into OMD, I recommend you check that out. Joan of Arc. OMD followed Souvenir with 2 songs about Joan of Arc. I've always wanted to know what the fascination is with Joan of Arc. So for those of you who don't know, Joan of Arc, who was nicknamed the Maid of Orleans, is a French heroine. She was burned to death at 19 years of age. She is canonized as a Roman Catholic saint. Her part in the 100 Years' War is fabled. She crossed enemy lines dressed as a male soldier. Joan claimed she had received visions of the Archangel Michael, Saint Margaret and Saint Catherine of Alexandria, instructing her to support Charles VII in recovering France from English domination. That's clearly not the whole story, but now you go back to this number 5 UK hit with fresh eyes and ears. We already know at this point that OMD are capable of tackling big subject matter in the pop arena. Enola Gay from the previous album refers to the plane that carried the atom bomb that was to be dropped on Japan during the Second World War. Joan of Arc starts like a candle flickering in a breezy church. There are bells, a deliberate plodding rhythm. This is a love song to this incredible historic figure. Andy sings his heart out at the end as the song fades. The inevitability of Joan of Arc's story is reflected in the outro, and I am sitting here in contemplative mood, imagining Joan of Arc's young female, purpose-filled life and it is dawning on me just how inspired this work is, and there is a transcendent presence of romance in this song that had escaped me up until the review of this album. Maid of Orleans, it's just the best fucking thing out of 1982, isn't it? If you're a synth fan, this was where we got our jollies. We've got like Depeche Mode and OMD battling out with these like synth hooks, Soft Cell, Say Hello, Wave Goodbye. These genius songs that they just don't make anymore. It's not that they don't know how to. They don't know how to tap this artery of synth pop genius. Now, I have no idea how the collective people of England had the sense to make this brilliant material, the big hits that they did, but thankfully they did, because OMD really, they follow up Joan of Arc with Maid of Orleans. We've said the band connected with Joan of Arc's story so completely that there were 2 hit singles. Big hits. The marketing tied in beautifully. The sleeve was a stained glass window, and this song became a monster worldwide hit. Number 1 in Belgium, Holland, Germany and Spain. Number 2 in Austria. Number 4 in Switzerland and the UK. Number 5 in Ireland and number 7 in New Zealand. Andy McCluskey had written the song on the 550th anniversary of Joan of Arc's death in May 1981. The synths teeter almost out of tune. The vocals are gentle. The song has a clear-cut direction, just like its ill-fated heroine. While Souvenir is my favourite track on the album, this song is the most awe-inspiring. What must it have felt like to have this hit? It takes you somewhere in your heart, and it takes you somewhere in your heart, and it takes you somewhere in your heart and mind that no other band have before or since. My fascination with this jewel is simple. How on God's green earth were OMD able to assimilate this music into the upper echelons of the British 10 time and again? The synth buffoonery? No doubt. But OMD were not plastered with makeup. They were not teeny bop dreamboats, but they are my heroes for making what they did work. After this hit single, nothing stood a snowball's chance in hell of holding the public in thrall. Architecture and Morality. The title track is instrumental. You can't help but feel this is what Get Carter from Dare wants to be. There's plenty of space to reflect. The low cello melody seems filled with regret and self-judgment. From Souvenir, this band have been seducing and intoxicating me on this album. My musical tastes feel so understood on this record. Georgia. This track for me has the beginnings of what goes on to define and ultimately sink Dazzle Ships, their follow-up album. It has the busyness of genetic engineering. It lacks some of the more profound revealing of character that other tracks on this album have in abundance. It could be interchangeable with Depeche or The League as they were in 1981. The beginning and the end. The spell has been broken. This final track is fine, but it's like someone taking you to Papaya King after eating at Le Bernardin the night before. I'm an OMD fan. I'm not going to chuck them out of my house for this adequate offering. The inspiration and emotional intelligence with which this album is constructed has greatly increased my appreciation for OMD's contribution to the halcyon years of British pop. Running commentary, album reviews, orchestral manoeuvres in the dark, architecture and morality, 90%.